with You Are the Gym podcast show with your host with the most, Heru, the modern monk, and with my special guest, Nate Serrentino.
Yes, sir. Thank you for
How you
having
doing
me,
today?
Heru.
Yes, sir. How you been?
I've been great. Since we recorded the episode for my podcast, a lot has happened, and
Nice.
most importantly, I have a pretty steady place to stay right now since I just moved out to LA.
That's
And
awesome.
that's the best thing that's happened so far. But thank you again for having me on.
No, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate your time as well, and your patience. Let's dive right into it. So the first thing is right off top, how do you, with your journey as a young man, journeying within this new world, as we would say, the new world order, how do you, with your what how would you define success for yourself? Let's
Excellent
come
question.
right out the gate. I'm just coming right out the gate.
Yeah, so success to me is the highest level of prosperity and happiness that one can achieve in their life in
Nice.
all areas. Like,
Mm,
it's not just about having prosperous relationships. It's not just about having a healthy body, and it's not just about being really connected to a higher power. For me, that's God. There's a balance in being able to have prosperity in all these different areas, and to be able to do whatever you want to do when you want to do it.
yes.
That's really what I see success being.
Okay. Okay. And that kind of connects to your perception, as
Yeah.
we discussed a little bit in our podcast we did a couple weeks ago. And I'm curious of more of that. I want to know, share a specific moment when it changed your perception or situation to be a significant shift to what you have noticed with your realities, if that makes sense. What
Yeah.
has been your perception?
Um. Honestly, it's like the first time I took psilocybin mushrooms changed my perception a lot, because
Mm,
it like made me this understand what being alive was. Before that, I always just had felt numb. Like, I was always just like, I, I was here, but I wasn't here. I wasn't present. And
mm,
to be present and actually seeing what's going on around you and really putting your all into it, there's a difference between going through the motions and making the motion.
yes, agree with that. Agree.
And that like perspective change of I'm here versus I'm present,
Right, right,
which
right.
is you're always going to be there. Like, you can just go through the motions of your 9 to 5 every day, go home to your family, watch TV, and then go to sleep, wake up, eat, do it all over again. And then you can really dig into each thing and be like, you're cooking and you see all the little things, and when you are at work, like every piece, like you're putting your all into it, and you're focused with your coworkers, how to build relationships, how to get better at your job, everything. And it's all about being present while you're doing stuff and trying to do it to the highest level possible.
Mm, mm,
Where for me, it's a being service to a higher power, where I feel whatever created us all, I just always go back to God. Like, me being of service to God and showing the whatever created everything that we're living in, I want to be able to work at the highest level possible. I want it to
right.
be like the pinnacle of like
Use.
human experience,
Right.
human achievement. So going off of the success and then moving into presence and going from smoking weed and vaping and drinking alcohol to this going through life with nothing, sometimes drinking coffee, and then focused on how can I be the best version of myself.
Right.
That change in being there to high performance, that's like that elevation where you start to really make the perspective changes of how are people around you even going about life.
Right. I see the passion in you. Definitely see the passion, and I appreciate that. Your the kind of ambition. Even what you was explaining today. Like really your purpose. Your purpose. You sound like you want to express. Helping people or helping others at the same time growing. And helping people grow themselves, a business via whatever the concept may be. But what has what is the why behind public speaking or your passion to get in front of people, teach people some of your ambitions, I would guess.
Yeah. So I've always been like a motivated and ambitious person. I always wanted to be better. I think it's intrinsic in everyone in that way. Some people have more than others, but without that, you wouldn't grow at all,
Right.
whether that be physically or mentally or spiritually. However, your question was more geared towards like my why and like what are my motivations.
Yes.
When I went through my experiences in high school of being there but not really being there, I was like one of the star goalies in New Hampshire for varsity hockey.
Okay.
I was known across like New Hampshire, and then people even knew me in other states because of like where I was. And to this day, if you look up my name, like most of entire first page of Google is about me playing hockey.
Okay.
And now it's changed a little bit towards my companies too. I'm really good at like building my name on the internet.
Andy.
But that only does so much, where when you don't have that why, which going back to again to answer your question, I wasn't truly there and I wanted to be more present. And this came from lack of control of my life to the point where I couldn't control my mind, where other things were controlling my mind. So the saying for my company, real quick,
control your mind.
right there. It says, "Control your mind, control your life."
Yes.
Which means like we are all products of our addictions, and our addictions control our mind and they control our focus, and where you focus your attention, your energy goes to, and that's what your life becomes.
Right.
So when I was going through high school with all my addictions and I was struggling to have any control over what I was focused on, I just felt like a lost puppy. Like I just had no direction. I had no purpose. And that word purpose means everything to me. Everything you do in life needs to be done with definite purpose. You should have a reason for everything you do, everything you put on your body, in your body, near your body, the people you hang around, and everything else. All you need to have purpose. So the why comes down to, why am I doing what I'm doing, and what is it gonna do to the future version of myself? Am I gonna is this adding to me or subtracting from me?
Right. That brings me to another question, where what has been, I mean, you saying your motivation, you was in a different space when you was, younger, obviously. Your high school experience, your hockey experience, and I can relate to that aspect, being an athlete and being a good ass athlete.
Yep.
You definitely have some expectations, or people have expectations of you, maybe going to college, this, that, and I can really relate to the stress aspect behind it, because you kind of keep your zone, or you keep your environment. You want to keep your environment protected, right? But then this protection, and you being young like myself, you really didn't know what direction you wanted to go, because you was spread out too thin to
Yeah.
certain things. So what has been some of those coping mechanisms when you was, stressing, with certain things that was expected of you, and you didn't do well, or you didn't perform like you should have performed? And this is not just your hockey experience. I'm talking about overall in life. You're a young man, but you have a lot of wisdom. That's what I notice about you. You got a lot of wisdom. And I know the learning lessons that you encountered over the years, especially with the makeup being adopted and some other aspects of that. I'm sure that has some work within that work. So what
Mhm.
has been some of your coping mechanisms, as far as, the stress, some of the depression, some of these other issues that you kind of talked about earlier, actually be
Yeah.
tall?
This is an excellent question, because I've tried a lot of different things throughout the years. In high school, it was whether in some form of nicotine, and then like smoking weed, and I thought that was like I'd have a bad hockey game and I'd be like, oh, it's all right, I can just get high later and I can just let it go.
Mm,
And
mm,
yeah, that worked, but I could have handled it so much better. So that is like there was times where me and my friends we'd go back to, like, we would there was like three of us that would always go back to this one person's house, and we'd like go down in his basement, and we just like, it would be like after a game, whether we won or lost, like we just go
right.
down there and smoke weed. And it's just like, what do like why like why? I just
Mm,
like recall there was one time his mom came down and she was like, "This is what you guys do every game, every time you come home." Like, oh, she was so upset, and it was bad. And now what I do for like a more stressful situation, I really lean into God, and a lot
okay.
of people find that like hard to do because it's like so intangible. They're like, what does that even mean? Like,
Right. I can see that.
how can you lean into something that isn't real? And it's this is how it's done. You first and foremost, if you're not putting 100% into everything you do, it doesn't work, because you already lost, because you didn't put your all into it, and you'll
Right,
know
right.
immediately.
Yeah. You guaranteed. I agree with that. You definitely know.
So that's
Definitely
the
know.
first step to like leaning on to God. The second step is you have two things you can pick in every situation. You can have faith it's going to work out in your favor, or you can worry that you didn't do enough. But
Oh,
if you did enough, all you have left is faith that
mm,
things will work out for you. Because if it doesn't, obviously it wasn't meant to be.
mm.
Because some things aren't meant to go your way. Some things are meant for other
Right,
people.
right.
It's like I put everything into building my fitness company, and it just seemed like nothing would ever work. And until I pivoted into mindset coaching, did I get clients.
Right. Yeah, because it makes sense, because that's the foundation. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
agree with that.
and so sometimes you this aren't you even if you do put your all in, it's not going to work, and you're going to be really stressed out. You're like, why isn't this working? I feel like I've done everything. What more can I do? Like, I feel like I'm having the faith. I feel like I'm putting all my effort in. I feel like I'm doing everything I possibly could, and I'm still not making money. I'm still not making progress.
Right.
And
Yeah, that's definitely an eye opener right there.
there's a certain point where you can be persistent and you can keep going day after day, but if you guys don't get results for like a year, like anything, and I mean this like a taste, like God will give you like a taste of what it looks like, just so you like that like it's possible. But when you don't even get that, sometimes you're like, okay, let me pivot and see maybe if there's something better that I could do. And then always run hypotheticals in your head. If everything goes exactly as it's supposed to in my head,
Okay.
where do I see myself? Do I see myself enjoying this path, or do I see myself not enjoying it? Do I
Right, right,
actually want
right.
to fully go into all of this when it starts working out? And that was another reason I switched from fitness to mindset, going into more from stress. And like, so you have like 100% in picking faith over worry or faith over fear. Like,
Big one.
you're always going to have faith that things will work out, and understand that the universe is working in your favor, because what you put out is what you get back. And when you're adding to everything, the universe will add to you.
Right, right. I agree with that.
So
Reciprocity. Yeah.
these are like the fundamental rules that I follow for life, to how I can operate without anything that's based on fear and worry and like any low vibrations. Like, I have no shame, I have no guilt, I have no fear. I don't have these things that most people struggle with, because I don't do things that don't align with my values.
Right. I agree with that. That's definitely agreeable. You know,
um
makes sense.
Moving to like a depression anxiety standpoint, I've always handled depression in a lot of and one really important way for me, which is not to suppress it, but to let it out, and
Right.
to this to share it and talk about it. And the one of the best, even if I'm not talking about it to everyone, it's like one close friend you can talk to is all it takes. And then I am a really big fan of music that
Okay.
matches how you feel.
Right,
Like,
right, right,
don't
right.
if you feel like down, don't listen to happy music. Listen to music that is down. That is people
Okay.
like
That's
talking about
interesting.
not feeling good, because
Right, right.
you're gonna be able to work through it. And there's this quote. It's when you're happy, the music like feels good, but when you're sad, like you understand the music.
Mm,
It's like
interesting.
you have to be able to match like the energy that whatever the artist is putting out. And
Okay.
for me, like the other day, like yesterday, literally yesterday wasn't a great day for me. I had a lot going on in my head, and this everything's been so tight lately, to the point that I was just like all in my own head. And the thing I do when this happens is I listen to NF. I don't know if you know who
Okay.
that
Yeah, no,
artist.
I know who NF Nate. Yeah.
Yeah, dude,
Know
I
exactly who he is. Yeah.
he's one of my favorite
Yeah,
artists to
he's
listen to
nice.
when things are like really tough in my life. And I was just like, I just had my beats on. I was sitting out in the sun listening to NF all day. I was like, well, if I get sun, that's the first thing. And then the second thing is like, we went to the gym last night, me
Okay.
and a few of my buddies. And then I listened to NF during the day, like exercise, sunlight, and then not suppressing the feeling. That's how you get out of depression.
Right, right, right. Exercise always helps. Yeah. I'm a big
But
component of that.
going to anxiety, my anxiety is more like always trying to live too far in the future and not being in the present. And we talked
I
about
can
this
agree with
earlier.
that. Yeah. I'm with you there
When
because I do a lot of that myself. You know, I'm working on that as we speak. Matter of fact, my little brother made me get a really understanding of it too, because you tend to, especially as an athlete, you're a former athlete, so you tend to just go do it, make it happen, instead of really paying attention, giving it the patience that you need to be able to get that 10,000 hours in that particular task or whatever duty or productivity that you're actually adding
Mhm.
value to have that patience to sit back and kind of, okay, let me take this step by step, like you said, focusing that energy on that particular action or particular movement that you're into at the time. I think that's very important because it's
Yeah,
definitely one thing. Like I said, another element about you, I noticed you strategically, you've been taking the time, keeping you open, and moving when you need to move. Like for example, you left New Hampshire, right? New
yeah,
Hampshire. You moved from New Hampshire and got to a busier, active state, California,
Yeah,
LA, all the places. what
yeah.
made
It's like,
what
hey,
made you do that? What sparked that? What sparked
oh,
that move?
so you briefly mentioned it earlier with like the public speaking, and I have a podcast as well. It's actually this. I recently just renamed it after my brand, so everything's under Save Your Services. So
Right,
just go to
right,
Save Your Services podcast or Save Your Services on YouTube. It's on all platforms. You'll find it. Um, as for what got me into LA is like what got me into podcasting, public speaking, having a message that I felt
right.
I needed to spread. And it's intrinsic where
Mm,
I'm not doing this for the money. I never once thought about doing this for the money. I know what I have to say is going to help billions of people.
right, right, right.
And I would be doing an injustice to society by not serving my purpose.
Agreed.
I could people keep telling me to go get a job, and I'm like I want to get a job to get more cash flow going, and I continue making my content. I continue putting out what I'm putting out. I have I have one client I've been working with right now coaching,
Okay. Okay.
and I've helped him so much already, and I want to continue helping him. He was supposed to meet with me this morning, and he said we should meet next week instead. And I was like, all right, if you feel good, then do that. But I'm here for you,
Right, right.
and I'm hoping
Accountability.
I want to make sure that like as long as he can, like I was talking to a previous client the other just earlier today or yesterday, and everything like he when I met him he was doing the opposite of great, like everything was falling apart.
Okay.
And
Okay.
now everything's going great, and it wasn't everything was falling apart, but there was a lot of things that like weren't good, and I
Going in
helped
the
him
right direction.
yeah, I changed that perspective that we talked
Right,
about
right,
earlier.
right. Yeah, yes. Perception. Yeah. Perspective,
So
perspective and perception. Yes.
if you change the way you see things, it can help a lot. Remind me what your main question was with
So
this.
I just was stating what you oh, I'm up here. I was getting all in the conversation because you kind of made me go into like the commitment. You're so committed about your move from New Hampshire to
Oh yes.
California. What drive that? What made you say, I want to get up and get out of here and go to one of the busiest states in the country? And especially when activity, and let me just kind of paint a little picture. California is an interesting state. They
Mm-hmm.
have been very progressive on a lot of issues, even when it comes to like cannabis and all yada yada yada. But at the same time, it's a lot of people who's been leaving our California as well. Getting out of there. Their taxes been super high, skyrocketing high. Housing skyrocketing high. You know, and it's been a minute since I actually been out there per se or living out there. So I really don't know what the makeup is, but I know a lot of people have been moving from California, coming out to Colorado here, coming out to different other states around the country. So it's been kind of interesting because California and New York are like the top 5 states that people have been leaving, and relocating. So what made you relocate from New Hampshire to California?
Um, I figured there'd be more opportunity to grow my business here.
Okay.
My especially when it comes to the coaching and public speaking possibilities. I really I have faith that God will bring me to the right people.
Right. Okay.
Um, I always I've always like it's the craziest ways you meet people that are the most sometimes it's like you're in a coffee shop and you meet that person who changes your life forever.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
I mean, I met this girl and in New Hampshire at the Kava Bar 2 weeks before I left,
Okay.
and where she had grown up Amish, left when she was 16, went to New Hampshire, did some college there. Was like, nah, this ain't for me. Ended up her godfather got her first flight lesson. She fell in love with flying, moved to
Wow.
Colorado on her own,
Nice.
started doing flight lessons there. This went to New Hampshire to visit some friends, and she happened to be at the Kava Bar with me. I'm talking to these like three or four girls now. It was the four of them, and we're just like chilling, talking, and one of them happened to be this girl that I'm talking about, and she tells me she's from Colorado. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And then I'm driving across the country. I'm in Colorado.
Right.
I'm in Denver, and she's like, "Oh, you guys still in Colorado? Like, you should definitely come, like, stop by." I'm like, we should hang out. Like, sure. We meet up at a coffee shop. Meanwhile, that same day, a blizzard ended up coming in, and we stayed at her house for 3 days.
Right.
We've built the most incredible relationship in 3 days, being snowed in at her house.
Right.
Now I have a friend for life.
Right.
And
Nice.
she's literally 20 years old, and in the spring or late winter, she's going to be going for a commercial pilot's license.
Wow. That's powerful.
You see, like, it was so 2 weeks before I left. And if I hadn't met her, we would have been stuck in a blizzard with nowhere to stay in Colorado.
Right.
And so it shows you, like, the tiniest ways that, like, God can just place people on your journey that you don't know how they're going to be able to influence your future until that happens. Like, for you, like Heru, and for me being Nate, like, we don't know how we're going to be able to help each other in the future. And that's the beauty of the relationship, because your network is as big as the network of the people that are in your network.
You keep, yeah.
And it keeps webbing out further and further. And that's
right.
That's the society we live in. That's why they will say your network is your net worth. And me moving out to California, I've expanded my network to people who are friends with billionaires.
Right.
I have friends who are millionaires now, and the reason that happened is because I made this change.
Connection.
And all it took was taking a chance, not looking back, and saying, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make my version of success come true.
Yes.
While being moral and ethical.
Key right there, because people are doing anything and everything for a dollar bill. I wouldn't even say a dollar bill, a few hundred, few thousand, maybe a few million. But what it sounds like to me, it sounds like you're very committed to change. You're very committed to change. And I know, like, transformation, you start noticing change within a transformation, especially when it comes to, like, training or working out. By 3 weeks, you're actually picking up a couple. Okay, my shoulders got a little broader, then about, another 3 weeks, friends and family members start noticing some things, some changes, which, especially when it comes to the physical aspect. But you notice the change, even within 3 days, you start noticing your behavior changes. And one of these big aspects of commitment to change, and I know commitment is a lot of us throw it around like it's not really, it's just a word, but at the same time, it makes a lot of sense, because it sounds like you're very committed to you making that move, becoming a public speaker, even though you are, you know what I'm saying? You are what you are, like you said, the energy, the focus, the frequency, getting yourself in the frequencies that you need to be in, hence Nate NF, and utilizing exercises and utilizing, the fresh air, the sunlight, the energy that gives to you, the vitamin D, if you want to go there. But it's definitely some, how have you been? This is one thing being in the Generation Z, right? You're
Yeah,
Generation Z. Would you
correct.
classify yourself?
I'm like right in the middle of it too.
Right, right. Now, with that being said, how are you adjusting to your fellow Gen Z brothers and sisters? Because that's an interesting, because your intelligence is very comprehensive, respected. You know what you want, even though you still painting a picture, you still going down that journey or that road, but you
Hmm.
know what you want. How have you encountered, and you said according to what you was just speaking on, the people you just had connected with during your journey from New Hampshire to California, how have you been adjusting with those, because are most of your friends Gen Z as well? Are they from your generation or
No,
older?
I got a lot. I got most of my friends are millennials. I'm gonna be
Okay.
honest. Um,
Okay.
Especially now, like since I have more friends over 30 than I have under. That's just how it goes, though. I'm really happy about that too, because
Okay.
it's I know the people you surround yourself with are the people you become,
Right.
and by me I put myself through a lot really quickly before I came out here.
Okay.
Like in like a matter of 3 years, I just tried to make myself learn and grow as fast as possible by putting myself in uncomfortable situations.
Right.
And
Right.
then the
Right.
ultimate
Totally.
uncomfortable situation was moving across the country, knowing no one here.
Right. I agree with you. I have done that plenty of times. Plenty of
And
times. And I think
it forces you to adapt and improvise
right.
like
Right.
nobody's business.
Right. Yeah. Because I have moved all over the country. I lived all over the country. And
Oh, that's awesome.
it's been beautiful too. Don't take me wrong. Certain places I would love to live. I mean, I lived out in Florida, lived in Hawaii for a few years, you know what I'm saying? So it's been, California, Seattle. I've been a bunch of places. Alaska. I'm born and raised in Alaska. But at the same
Whoa, that's crazy.
yeah,
I would never have guessed that. I would have guessed you probably came out of somewhere like Florida. Like,
yeah,
especially being like really into sports, I feel like
right,
sports can
right.
be pretty big down there.
Right. Wrestling was my expertise, though. That was my bread and butter.
Nice.
But at the same time, like I said, with that expansion or with that experience, traveling and really getting out and don't know nobody. Most of the places I went, I didn't know anybody, so I had to learn the area, this and that. But I think what it does is it create more character. And you can see that with you. You got more character and character building on these little foundational aspects. With that being said, what has been some of your free time? Where do you spend your free time? What are some of the things how you expressed it a little prior to the interview, prior to us getting on the call, recording the call. You
Yeah.
expressed what you have been, you know.
Yeah. So when it comes to like free time, I'm a big fan of studying and practicing with my mind. I go to the gym. Gym is a very important thing in my life. I do like some meditations. Like my mornings are very relaxed and very
Okay.
easy. I ease myself into every day. I don't like this like shoving myself into a day. I can if I have to, but I would much rather go like on a slow, gradual rise and then like down. And it makes the day a lot easier. Slow mornings are the highest blessing. So I like put on some
Okay.
frequencies. I really like 963 hertz. It's like frequency of
Okay.
oneness.
Okay.
Um, that I'm a big fan of. And then
I got
also I like Rubik's cubes. I have a
okay.
7x7 Rubik's cube that is
Nice.
super intense. A lot of people they see that and they're like, "Whoa!" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is like I don't like the 3x3 because it's too easy. It's like I can do it in under a minute. So why would
Oh
I do
wow.
it all the time?" It's just like imagine just doing the same thing over and over again. Like eventually,
Okay.
it's kind of like you'll get good at it. Like I mean, of course, like I could get better and do it even less time, but that's not the goal. The goal is to advance to harder puzzles for me.
Okay. Okay. The challenge, step the
Yeah,
challenge. Yeah.
that's what makes like I'm not about speed. I'm about like overall difficulty.
Okay. Okay. Accuracy.
Um, yeah, it's like
Accuracy. Yeah. No, no, that makes sense. I mean, you said you was a hockey goalie, right? You said you was
yep,
a goalie. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So that kind of makes sense too, because I always thought the goalie, because if I could ice skate, I would have played hockey, because I played football too. I played football and wrestled, played basketball, played pretty much all the sports, but I didn't. Hockey was one of those sports I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to ice skate. I think I got into it too late to ice skate and learn because I love the hitting and love the maximum.
Wow, you probably would have you would have been a killer on the ice. I can imagine you on the football field. You'd be running. You'd probably be pushing people all over the place.
Yeah, matter of fact, the coach, the high school football coach, approached me because he knew I was a wrestler in high school. Well, he knew I was a wrestler coming up. So high school, he seen me in high school, my freshman year. My sophomore year, he approached me with playing for the team, playing for the high school team, because I was still playing for the youth football league, and most of my friends who was there, we all went to the same high school, so we kind of had that camaraderie. I can't even say the connection. And then so the coach came up to me and asked me if I wanted to play football. I was like, that's no question. I was a small guy too. I was really small, but at the same time, I knew I had technique, I had the skill, I played focused more on defense. I was a hitter. I was a hitter. But at the same time, let me ask you this. What are the values most important to you in a friendship?
Um, at the highest level, I've been talking about this with so many people lately, and
Okay.
it's trust. Trust is number one. If there's no trust, there cannot even be love.
Okay. Okay.
Love is built on trust, and trust is like the trust is the bond. Like trust is that energy that connects the two. Um, and then you can put love on top of trust, but you need
Okay.
trust there. And after trust, it really just comes down. The people in my life need to believe in something bigger than themselves. Most of the time,
Right.
that turns into God.
I agree.
Um, but I'm open to any belief. Like I'm so grounded in my beliefs that no matter what you say to me, you can't hurt me because I know like what I see and perceive as reality. And you can
Okay.
see reality in whatever way you want to.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
I
Right.
know what works for me, and I know why it works for me, and I know why I feel the way I feel in my heart. And most of the time, when I am struggling, it's not because of like anything related. It's the most of the time, it's only related to finance. Like it never is
True.
anything
True.
else.
I can
Um,
see that. I can see that. I can see that. Because I mean, what we have become as a society, it's kind of the focus have moved, shifted. Even though we're talking mindset, because that's what really it comes down to.
yeah,
Mindset, building these principles that have an ambition, having integrity. And we talk about this. I actually talk about this in my book, Confessions of the Mind of an Athlete. Yeah, the mind of an athlete, subconscious mind of an athlete. And it's interesting too, you know having that experience you have had, especially when it comes to sports and what you have been doing very successful in that. Then you pivot with this particular business model, approach it on a fitness level, and then you like, okay, let me pivot and start getting into the mind, because it is about the mind. Really, when you really break it down, even just talking to like, or seeing the viewpoints of where you know professional athletes come from, their mindset, what they're doing, the discipline they actually putting themselves in, and keeping themselves committed to these particular functions or actions within themselves and within the rest of their lives as well. But one of the things I notice with a lot of the professional athletes, they kind of get off track when they retire. They don't know what to do.
Yeah,
So I think they need to find something that they can master again, to kind of keep that commitment, keep that energy going. And
you
then
know,
finding friends finding people they can trust, right? When you really
yeah.
put it in perspective.
What you just said about the athletes really stuck to me because I you see it in like the major sports, but I went through my own mini version of that in high school.
Right.
It was like after I was done with hockey, it's like everything fell apart. I was like, whoa, like what happened? I was everything was great and now hockey's over and now I'm just a person again. Like I'm no longer like a hockey player. It's
We're back in the
I'm like
back in
I'm back in the real world. It's like
right.
going from like the seriousness of D1 varsity hockey into just like nothing, like going to the gym just to keep your health up.
Right, right.
It my whole identity was shattered. Like literally everything that made Nate Serrentino was this like diminished because I had built 70% of me off of playing
Right.
hockey.
I agree. I can see that. I can see that. And I'm with
And
you there.
it it makes you step back and you're like, I thought my purpose was to be a hockey player. Now like what am I supposed to do? And you have to look and then the entire time my purpose was always in my hand. It was helping people with addiction, and
Right.
to further that down and make it a little bit more broad, it's to help people with
Mm,
control over their mind and their life. And this whole thing, like this little segment you were talking about, like qualities in a friend, I guess it's like they need to like understand what it means to take accountability and responsibility for the things they do in life. That's one
right.
thing I can't get behind is a victim mentality. If you try to play the card like like this happened to me, if you just say this happened to me, I'm already like, yo, what's going on up here?
And I to build on that, I think really the foundation of being in sports or being in an organized sports and being on a level successful with what you was doing, I think that mindset is embedded in athletes or former athletes, because that was my same experience. Even when I, left college, I was like, and I didn't want to go back to the same college because I just had we was successful. I was all American. We was national champions. So we had all the accolades, but then it was like a depression for me where what do I do now? Okay, do I go back to the school to, pick up wrestling, this, that, and third? They didn't have the program that I really wanted to do. So it was like a depression getting out. What do I got to do? Like, now I'm going to go work a job, work there for 10 years, 10 years of my life gone. I'm back in college. What do I do now? So it's kind of, I get it, because it's all about reinventing yourself. And that's what you've been doing. That's exactly what you've been doing. And I think that has that ambition, right? As we discussed a little bit on the last podcast show with you. Ambition is very interesting because I notice I always been ambitious. I always been the big thinker or
Mm-hmm.
going out, what's going to happen to me in the next 5 years? How do I need to position myself so I can take advantage of these opportunities that presents themselves and I'll be ready for them, and
Yeah.
that's one of the ideologies or the perception that we are perceived to think, you know, but
Uh-huh.
it's certain barriers. I think certain barriers and certain concepts of walls falling down too for you when I think you're ready, you know. 10,000 hours, as they say, your 10,000 hours, get your 10,000 hours, and to master a certain, or become a master of whatever, you know, skill, whatever the case may be. But a lot of times, I think, especially with athletes, we got to start paying attention to more emotional intelligence. That's what I love about the mindset, how we're accepting, how we're taking on a lot of the non-victim mentality. Because I notice that with athletes too. They don't play the victim unless they're like a LeBron James and, okay, I made a mistake. Now I'm making too many more mistakes, so I'm going to blame. I'm going to make these excuses up. I'm just using them as example. Don't take.
Yeah, no, it's funny that you pick him up, but I completely know. I completely see where you're coming from, and what you just said like made me really think about this. Like, I'd probably be able to like coach athletes too, like
Right.
especially some of these like young ones that are like still like high school, but they're gonna be going pro. Like
Right.
those are the ones that like really need like the help when it comes to that like mental stability.
Right. Agree with that. And that's been, like I said, it's been a challenge for me too, being able to adjust, making the moves that I need to move, and don't make excuses. Yeah, certain things come up. Don't take me wrong. Certain things come up, but try not to be in a victim mentality mindset, because it definitely destroys elements. I mean, that's why I Think and Grow Rich and all these different the power of the subconscious mind, and utilizing these opportunities, mind think, right? The mind think, or
Yeah.
let's take out think, and just utilizing the mind, taking the time to do brainstorming, taking the time to really get in focus and get deep focus going on for whatever it may be, and focusing on that one thing, as Keller talks about in his book, The One Thing. But that's really the key thing. And that's what I noticed with you, what you're doing now currently. Yeah, it may be some chaos going on around you, but you're taking the time to really focus in on your business model, save your services, and giving people an opportunity. Here's an opportunity where I'm an accountability partner, and I want you to do the best you can do with these tools that we have presented, right? So on that, who in your life has been an inspiration for you? Who has been dropping jewels to you for the last 20 some years? Who has been that person that kind of give you that kick in the butt?
Um.
Or is it anyone? I mean, it can be a book, fictitious, whatever.
Well, no,
Live, dead.
it's interesting because it changes on the seasons.
Okay.
I've had many seasons of my life. I've lived many different sectors. It's like depending on where I'm at, there's just a few key players that come to mind. Like I have an inspiration for like my podcast and like getting my mind right. That was Ryan Stewman. His
Okay.
his podcast, the Rewire podcast, was the reason I like really made like Guided Spirits originally. And when I had the opportunity to get on a call with him, we were going to record a podcast together. Ended up not going as planned, which is all right. We sat down and talked for a bit. I got to meet one of his sons as well, so that was cool.
Okay. Nice.
But he was a big inspiration. He was also adopted, and he's just had his fair share of struggles. In and out of jail, or I should say more like in and out of prison, because jail and prison are not the same thing.
No,
you can't get
no.
So, yeah, just you go like going through it, like having to learn the hard way. And I've learned my own things the hard way, especially when it comes to how I handle my heart and what I do with my body, whether that's substances or with like people, and specifically with women. Like I stopped dating because of like I just got tired of hurting people, because like I was like I shouldn't be with people if I'm not mature enough to not just like leave when shit gets tough. So I had to figure my own stuff out. And
I feel you.
it
We all come to that conclusion sometime in our lives.
yeah, exactly. And another inspiration, it's just so wild because like even like one of my exes was an inspiration. She was just so
Oh, okay.
resilient. She had a lot of health issues, and it showed
Oh,
me that I just got dealt like a really good hand. And like she was really intelligent too. And I I just I can see how like everyone takes what they get and they have to play their cards the best that they possibly can. So like you don't get, maybe you do. I mean, everyone gets at some point to I think we get to kind of determine what our life's gonna look like before we come here onto the
right,
earth.
right, right. I agree
But
with that. Yeah,
without going to that level of spirituality, like everyone gets like a different hand and they have to deal with the hand that they get.
yeah, yeah.
And
Right, right.
so with that being said, like my dad, it has been an inspiration in more of like the way he's acted. Like he was always really selfless, and
Okay.
money was never necessarily like, it wasn't like loose. Like he
Driven.
it was always tight, but like we didn't struggle. It
Right.
like I always had roof, water, food, shelter,
The
and like
necessity.
we had money to have fun. But
Right.
I saw how selfless he was with everyone in his life, and money like never stopped him from doing something.
Okay. Okay.
And
Good.
you know, he didn't take a lot of chances in his life. He was more of like he wanted the secure
Oh,
route. Like
okay.
he could never do like the entrepreneur route I've
Right.
gone.
Right. Right.
Like
Right.
he wasn't built for this.
Right.
But not everyone is. Most
No.
people aren't.
No.
And
I,
this brings me to another inspiration, Andy Frisella. He
okay.
he was one hard-headed guy. He can take a lot. He can take a hit. He can take anything. And I'm really glad that I have like people like him. And it's like a lot of entrepreneurs. It's like
Okay.
Andy Elliott, Brad
Yeah.
Lee,
Yeah.
you know, like Grant Cardone. Billy Carson comes to mind, especially when it came to me growing spiritually. Um, he like he introduced me to concepts that like grew me into a way that was more like it connected the material and spirit world more and more.
Right. Right. Right.
It's been great. But a lot of those influences that I have right now are like real are like my friends.
Okay.
But when
Okay.
I was like really developing these past like 5 years since I got out of high school, was like those names that I said. And all of those people, like if you look at what they're doing and the messages that they're spreading, they all um they all are like the leaders of like what they're doing. They're all industry leaders. They're
Right.
all
Right. No
entrepreneurs.
doubt. No
They're
doubt.
the top of their
Spearhead.
class.
Yeah, they spearheading. Yeah. So on that, will there be anything else you would like to share with us today on your
Um,
podcast show?
do, 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 do. I guess lately, the major theme of my life has been faith, and like, like this is stop trying to control everything and just let God work through you.
Okay.
Where you're when so you can't actually be successful unless God wants it for you. Because
Mm,
it's like the story of Job from the Bible. Like this
okay.
dude had everything, and then God took it from him just to show him this is why. Like I gave you it all, and I also took it all away. Like I
Right.
let
Right.
you have everything that you have. And there's been so many instances in my life where I've had the ups and downs of life where I thought I was doing great just for God to take it all from me. And
Right.
then I did it all again. And then God took it all from me. And now I'm like, oh, I get it. I can't do it without you saying this
Mm,
is what you have to do.
interesting. Yes.
And if you want to save yourself the pain of losing everything, don't try to do things that God doesn't want for you in the first place. And like, it's hard to understand that if you're just getting into like a connection with a higher power. But like I said earlier, put your all into everything you do. And if you actually are putting your all into everything you do, all you have to do is have faith in the universe working in your favor. And don't fear anything, including death, because what's meant to be is meant to be. And you should live every day like it's your last, regardless.
Right.
So, and then don't be limited, and don't let anyone stop you. And then become so good at what you do, you become undeniable. And then everyone will see, okay, this person knows what they're talking about, because look at their life and look at what they are doing and look at what they've done.
Right.
Unfortunately for me, it's people can't really look at what I've done. They can only look at what I'm doing because I'm still so young.
Right.
And it's gonna, by the time it's gonna be looking at what I've done, I'm gonna have built the pyramid already, and they're gonna say, "Whoa, like how do you do that?"
Indeed.
And it'll just be like, "Well, I was telling you the whole time."
Indeed. How can people get in contact with you? Where can we go? Can we go to some websites?
Yeah. So my website is savior.services. It's super easy. It's literally my Instagram handle. If you type that into the URL, it will pull up my website. So but yeah, the best places to like see more content from me too is my Instagram. This is where you should hit me up to if you have any questions or anything. If you want to get coaching, if you want to talk with me, I give everyone a free session before they start coaching with me, just to see if it's a good fit. Because I'm not for everyone, and everyone's not for me. Maybe Heru is the guy you're supposed to work with.
Right.
And that's just how that goes. I know a lot of people in the game, and that's it. So check out my content there. I'm on TikTok. I'm on everything you can imagine. YouTube for the podcast, Save Your Services podcast. I post vlogs too.
Okay.
I got some cool stuff coming out in the near future from LA. Ever since I got here, I've done one vlog so far. Absolute banger. You're gonna love it. You should definitely check it out.
Nice.
But anyways, Heru, thank you so much.
Man, I appreciate your time coming on the show, sharing your thoughts, sharing your experiences. And like I said, you definitely an inspiration. You definitely an inspiration for not just for me, but for other young men coming up, young ladies coming up, you know what I'm saying? And entrepreneurs, you know, you've been grinding, you know, I'm noticing that even with the works you have displayed currently, you know, I'm kind of blown away, you know, and I appreciate your time as well. Thank you again, Nate.
Thank you. Yeah, I got a lot to share, and it's just something to keep putting it out, and hopefully at some point people will start seeing the value in it. And it's like I just saw a video about Nipsey Hussle. Like his music didn't blow up till he passed.
Right.
And I'm just hoping that doesn't have to happen for people to see what I'm saying.
Right. I agree with that. Definitely agree with that. Like I said, appreciate your time and your patience. And thank you again for coming on the show.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you very much. And hopefully you can do this again.
Yes, sir. We can definitely do this. Peace.
Peace.